morning and welcome to this new session of the WindTalks organized by the Basque Energy Cluster here at the Wind Europe 2019 Conference and Exhibition in Bilbao. Today is 3rd of April, day 2 of the conference, and the main subject of today's WindTalks is digitalization in the wind sector. Let me introduce you to our two guest speakers, very relevant people and very relevant companies in the wind sector and specifically in the digital issues. First, José Carlos Araujo. He's Head of Monitoring and Analysis in Iberdrola Renewables. Good morning, thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
And Ander Larrañaga, he's Business Development Director at NEM Solutions.
Thank you.
Also an important company in the development of big data and data analysis applications nowadays. So let's start with the first general question for José Carlos from Iberdrola Renewables. Everybody's talking about digitalization as one of the main sources of competitive advantages in the future for the wind energy companies. All the companies in the value chain have identified that digitalization can be a source of improvements in terms of design of components, in terms of better operation and maintenance, reduction of costs. So we could call it somehow a kind of revolution in the wind sector. How is Iberdrola Renewables, as one of the leaders in this sector, positioning the company, and what is the strategy you are developing in this field?
Okay, I would say that the revolution that Iberdrola Renewables, it started in 2003 when we established the first renewable control center for operation. It was the big milestone in order it was the first point in which we were able to get all the data, all the information in order to start analysis, the data analytics. So I would like I prefer just to talk about the evolution. Now we are in a digital evolution that is true that now is like it's acceleration of this process, and we are handling this acceleration with the implementation of a digital plan. We have an internal digital plan in which we have three main points. The first one is just to find out the trends, to analyze the trends, the new trends. Secondly, which is the room of improvement that we have in our processes. And finally, just to create and to start new projects in order just to place these new technologies in our current processes in order to improve them.
Okay, thank you. Ander, NEM Solutions has been already working for the last years with some of the main utilities in the wind sector, with some of the OEMs also in terms of digitalizing their wind turbines. Which is the added value, which is the role of a company like NEM Solutions offering digitalization services to these big companies?
Well, first of all, whenever we start talking with main utilities and OEMs, the main goal is to have clarity on what is the strategy on the digitalization that they do have. Once this is clear and we have helped them to set this up, it goes all the way into getting very deep into the detail on how this analytical value can be delivered to the customer. And this is coming from the different challenges that they might be facing. It's coming all the way from the data acquisition, coming all the way from analysis of that data, coming all the way from delivering some insights for operational maintenance. So in those three stages, we try to help the customers going all the way down.
Okay. Iberdrola Renewables, as you said, with this evolution, is also positioning, and it's very well known that you have this trend of self-performing your wind turbines. I understand that means that it's your internal resources, the ones that are monitoring and analyzing all this digital information you are gathering. What is the rationale for this strategy? What are the benefits for your company? And I would ask also, are you also working with some external partners for some of the specific tasks around these projects?
Yeah, in fact, we feel very proud of doing ourselves this kind of monitoring analysis. I think that for us, it's a strategy. It's a strategy to have this kind of systems doing in-house. Why? Because it allows us flexibility in order just to future changes and even to to get our own knowledge, no? Because as we have a huge fleet with different manufacturers and technologies, it allows us just to implement our knowledge in our internal product, no? So I think that is it's a strategic. I mean, and essential for us to have these solutions in internalized. And of course, we are working with another companies that help us in creating these logics and this software, no? Because we are not experts in software. We are our expertise is the maintenance and the knowledge of the machine. And yes, external companies allow us to build software following our specifications, no?
Okay. Ander, you have mentioned before, and closely related to this issue, you have mentioned the challenge of data. So I understand, or there could be some different barriers for the availability of data. One is how often you have the data, all the data you would like to work with it. And the other issue is also the quality of those data. Is there a work to be done before you can analyze this data? So could you specify a little bit more on this?
Yes, well, the first one is having access to the data. And I think that that's one of the challenges that it's being shared across the industry players. So how we gather the data, it's a very relevant step in how can we then deliver value-added analytics on top of that. The other one is going to be on the quality of the data and the frequency of the data that we are gathering. There are still, there's an industry standard in terms of time-minute data. We are seeing that many players are going for a higher frequency of the data, which is also helping us to deliver better analytics on top of the entire system. Delivering that and showing what could be the good roadmap towards achieving higher frequency data and what can this bring to the table, this is one of the steps that we are taking with the customers.
So is there, I would say, a general framework to work with those data with different companies, or it differs from one customer to the other?
It differs a lot. We are seeing companies that they do have access to high quality data because that was part of, he was mentioning, part of the strategy that they do have, which is I want to have access to good quality of data, and that's part of the negotiations that they do have with their OEMs. And there are other companies that are not from 2003 where they made that revolution, that they are taking that as we speak. And they are moving into, in 2019, they are still having trouble so gathering the data from different players.
Okay. Linking with this data issue, which is the framework, I would say the technical or legal, even sometimes framework in which Iberdrola Renewables is sharing or working with this data with external partners, or is something that you are keeping inside for your own self-performing strategy?
It's a good question. Of course, we keep inside of our. I mean, it's when we need external support in order just to build this software that I mentioned before. It's true that we need just to sign, no, a private contract, no, in order just to keep our data, our knowledge in secure, no. That's essential for us because the data is value. The data is key for our industry or for our business. So it's true that we need just to keep our data safe. Let's say.
So maybe we will be just finishing our talk, just some last remarks, some last questions. I could say on the one side, I would ask NEM Solutions as provider of services to different kinds of companies, which would be your advice from your privileged position in this sector to companies, not just specifically utilities or OEMs, suppliers in the supply chain that want to progress in this issue of contributing with digital technologies. What would be your advice in terms of developing this kind of know-how internally?
Well, from our side, we are seeing that the customers that we are working with, there are no longer divided on the size of what the customers that you have on the entire of the asset management side, but it goes more into how much of the operational maintenance on the ownership they want to have, and the digital capabilities that they are developing in order to be that. So we are actually, the segmentation that we do have inside NEM Solutions, it doesn't go in terms of the size, it goes on the side in the terms of how quick they can adapt, how fast they can learn, and how easy they can ensure that the data flow actually is building value to them. For the entire supply chain, how they can add value to their services, I think it's coming up on how deep and how believers they are into how data is going to be solving the issues that they do have. As of today, some of the value chain, some parts of the value chains do not have access to right data. And that's the main challenge that they are facing. They're very good at building the products that they're doing. They're delivering that to the customer, but they're not getting any feedback. And that should be a change in the relationship that they should have. So adding value to that services through the data, I think it's one of the key things that the value chain should be focusing on.
Okay. And from your point of view, a way of involving more stakeholders, more companies, adding value to their customers, could there be some way of establishing, I don't know, standards or some kind of cooperation frameworks where companies developing and owning assets could be working with sharing in some format this information, this data with OEMs or suppliers? Do you envisage this kind of evolution?
Yeah, sure. It's a difficult answer. It's true that when obviously we need external support in order just to improve our own processes, of course we need to deal with this kind of let's say data transfers, no, between the owner and the supplier, no. But sure, of course that when we need this kind of relationships, it's key just to build a comfortable framework, no, in order just okay, all the data, all the knowledge that we are going to share is keep in our home, no. That's key. That's how I would say before.
So what would be your advice to any companies in the wind sector? What's your from a leader's point of view, what's your advice to progress and to really offer value to companies like Iberdrola?
My advice regarding this monitoring staff is obviously the people. We need strong people with different skills. I would say, first thing, engineering, people that knows how the components works. Secondly, data analytics, in order just to understand the data, how we can extract information from the data. Secondly, technicians, O&M, on the field that they have the strong knowledge of the equipment and they know how to fix the things. And finally, all this has to be in some way supported by IT. Mm-hmm. We need IT in order just to build all this process and to put in place.
And that's your role.
Yeah, Iberdrola is a very unique case on whether they want to have everything in-house. And that's the strategy. They're leading the way, and that's one of the strategies. Others are more open in order to explore new ideas, and they might think that maybe the innovation does not only come from within, that they're also open to gather new ideas from the outside. So we are pretty much seeing two ways of looking at the innovation, how it could be done.
Okay, so thank you very much to both of you. I think it's very, very fruitful and very clarifying of the future evolution, let's say, of digital technologies in the wind sector, and we hope it will evolve into more cooperative frameworks and alliances in the near future. Thank you very much to both of you.
Thank you.
And thank you to all of you. We'll see you in the next WindTalks session today here. Thank you.